Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Just a few program notes about the music that the band will perform. Obviously, the national anthem and the salute to the armed forces need no introduction, but I wanted to say just a few words about the significance of the piece we're doing right at the very beginning of the program and then at the very end. The Vanished Army was written at the very end of World War I by Kenneth Alford, and it was dedicated to the first 100,000 who lost their lives in what they thought would be the war to end all wars. Nimrod is a movement from Enigma Variations written by Sir Edward Elgar. And it has become a tradition in Great Britain and in some parts of the United States as a piece that is played to honor those who have fallen in the service of their country. So we hope you, those two pieces and the bookends of this program help set the tone for the day, and we hope you enjoy what's about to happen.
Good morning, everyone. Let's give another round of applause for the Maplewood Concert Band. I'm going to call the ceremony to order and ask Maplewood VFW Post 10120 Honor Guard to post the colors, present the colors, excuse me.
Action. Set. Arms. Over. Arms. Consciousness.
Ask Carrie Capone to come up. She's a Maplewood resident, and she's going to be singing the national anthem. We ask Reverend, if you please remain standing. Reverend Dylan Johnson, Associate Minister, First Baptist Church of Vauxhall, and he's the member of the Maplewood Clergy Alliance, and he's also a Maplewood resident.
Let us pray. Almighty God, you are our creator and sustainer. You are our light and our fortress. You are our wisdom and our strength. We gather this day to remember exceptional sacrifice. We gather this day to honor pure and absolute selflessness. For in your word, you have already told us that there is nothing greater when one lays down his or her life for another, who put their own longevity at risk for those they may not know, and for country, our great nation. Thank you for allowing us to keep this November 11th as a day of recollection and gratitude. Yes, let us not be satisfied with just images of patriotism and songs of history. Instead, allow us to savor our freedoms and peace. Beyond the pomp and circumstance of the hour, we hallow the sacrifices made during World War II, the Korean War, the Vietnam War, Operation Just Cause in Panama, the Gulf War, all NATO peacemaking efforts, and our continual fight against terrorism on our shores, in Afghanistan, Iraq, and Africa. Dear Lord, thank you for the sacrifice we as civilians too often take for granted. Please do not allow our appreciation for military service become diluted. Bless this day, a day we come and remember not just men, not just women, but all those who have sacrificed. Their sacrifice has been sacred. Their sacrifice has been untouchable, has been pure. Truly, each name we will call out is a monument of sacrifice worthy of all our recognition, appreciation, and honor. We ask that you abundantly bless those who have previously served. May their service time be rewarded in every way. May they gain earthly and heavenly blessings from their unselfish love of country. May each of our veterans feel honored not just today, but every day. Amen.
Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. down now. I want to introduce Carrie again, who's going to sing My Country 'Tis of Thee.
My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrims' pride, from every mountainside, let freedom ring.
Thank you, Carrie. I'd like to introduce my colleagues on the Township Committee. We have Deputy Mayor Nancy Adams. Stand, please. Township Committeewoman India Larrier. Township Committeeman Greg Lembrick. And Township Committeeman Frank McGehee. So I want to welcome you to our annual Veterans Day ceremony. We are so very happy and proud to bring us all together to remember our veterans, those who have served in our armed services. Today is estimated there are 435,000 veterans in New Jersey. And we salute those veterans across this country and across the world who served in active duty, where courage and dedication protected our freedoms and our way of life for generations. We recognize their service and their sacrifice, their selflessness and bravery, their hard work, and their faith. Let us thank all the veterans. I'd like to ask the commander of Maplewood VFW Post 10120, Frank Rizalka, to come up and say a few words.
As we know, today's Veterans Day. But to us veterans that we served, every day is this day. We added 3 new, or from Elizabeth. And I think with this, it's into the year, but it's something new that we have to do in VFW. And with that, I say
Would like to marks on behalf for servicemen and servicewomen. As the good looking out for many servicemen with gifts. He's looking to fill with names who have served or who are serving. They know someone who is serving anywhere, states, a town hall. What the committee does is record and other information about Maplewood to the community. Town hall and I would like to thank the committee and servicewomen for all what they have. Thank you very much. And also, 19th of the director is presenting World War I, and it will be observed of America's in war. So, Ridgewood Road, 523 Ridgewood Road. You can pick up a flyer. The event is that's cheap, and they always do in the presentation. Now we're going to have another. So.
I know we have a lot of veterans and a lot of families. When you hear
Let's give another round of applause. So this is one of the most favorite of the ceremony. Found and ask you to stand where you serve. For here, I remember who served, who is not here today, is no longer with us. You can also that person, give your name and the service, and if you want to tell us. How about the first row? We have Steve. You.
1984 through 1990. Position was band officer, and for 4 of those years I was the 8th Air Force Band in Shreveport, Louisiana. Father was a Purple Army Corps.
Just bring it over there.
Representing my cousin who is presently serving. Cousin is presently serving at college. He's a major in Flying 96. Yeah.
I think we'll pass it down.
Walter Schubert was a Marine Corps in 1956. Unfortunately, it was peacetime, so
Pamela Conley and Bruce Conley was in the Army and Marine, which actually I didn't know he was in the Army. Passed away on April 1st this year.
Ben Markson in the Korean War in the U.S. Army. I'd like to stay Maplewood, the late Robert Grassmere, former mayor, and Dr. Conley, who died a few weeks ago.
Good morning. Dennis Cronin, U.S. Navy, 27 years, 1968 to 1995.
Roy Nessessian, U.S. Navy. I was safely on board submarines during the Vietnam War.
U.S. Army, Korean War.
My name is Geraldine, and this is my son, James. We are here today in the memories of my late husband, Alander Vick, who served in the Army from 1965 to 67 in the Vietnam War.
My name is Peter Hirschman. I served with the 78th Division 310th Infantry Regiment. I was in World War II in the Battle of the Bulge, where I was captured by the Germans until the end of the war in May of 1945.
I'm here to speak in memory and honor of my husband, who was at 18 years old, became a proud member of the United States Marine Corps, 1st Marine Division. He fought at the Battle of Okinawa and then served in China with the 1st Marines. And he went through college on the GI Bill of Rights, which I think is the greatest thing we ever get for our armed forces. Thank you very much for this program. I come every year.
My name is Guido Descoli. I served in the U.S. Navy 4 years during the Korean War. I had 4 brothers in the Second World War. 3 of them were wounded. My brother Rocco lost his leg. My brother Ed is still carrying shrapnel. And that's about it. I lost a cousin. He was captured when the Japs bombed Pearl Harbor. He lived for 2 years. But, the Japs at that time, they were flying Red Cross when they were transporting their own troops to the battlefields. And my cousin, he was being brought back after the Americans raided the islands, taking islands back. They transported the prisoners back to their country, and they used to fly the Red Cross when they transported their own troops. So now, when my cousin was being transported under the Red Cross flag, he was killed by friendly fire because they knew that the Japs were flying Red Cross transporting their own troops.
Don Shapiro was in the U.S. Air Force from '66 to 1970 as a weapons mechanic on bombers and fighters in Plattsburgh, New York, and Malachi, Turkey.
Hello, everybody, my fellow patriots. God bless every one of you. I'm a member of the VFW 10120, and every November, here comes my magazine to tell me about my childhood friend that got the Congressional Medal of Honor in Vietnam. There's not a day that don't go by I think of him. I myself was a grunt in the Marine Corps from '67 to '69. And unfortunately, in the life we live in order to have peace, there got to be war. And it's like a never-ending battle. All of my relatives, Korea, Battle of the Bulge, my uncle, my father fighting the Japs. And we got to be spiritual, and so one day we end this crazy thing. You know, Korea now, Afghanistan, Islam, there's no end. But God bless everyone here. I'm lucky to be alive.
Army, I served the United States Army, Vietnam, 1967 to 1968.
Diane Trimper, honoring my 4 uncles, all Maplewood residents who served and survived World War II. Colton Wallenstein, Crandall Wallenstein, stateside. Everett Tremper, South Pacific. Purdy Tremper, Europe. I believe all were U.S. Army.
Hi, my name is Don Mackinson. I served in the U.S. Navy from 1957 and 1961. The last 2 years I was on a ship, a U.S. destroyer, the Goodrich, down in Maplewood, Florida, and I got out as a second-class petty officer.
Bill Steinbrunn, United States Navy, 1965 to 71. I served on the USS York County, an amphib, and I was a gunfire control technician. Thank you.
Crawford Saban, U.S. Air Force, 1951-55, German occupation. Also like to remember my brother-in-law, Al Peterson, U.S. Army, 1950-52, Korea.
My name is Joe Insero. I served in World War II in the Army Air Force, and I spent time on Guam and Japan. In addition, today is a particularly memorable day for me because my father, who served in World War I, and had he lived, he would be 27 years old. Here with my family. I live in Somerset, and I'm basically a New Yorker, and it's great to be here. Thank you.
Carol Buchanan. I'm here to speak in memory of my brother, Peter Stool, who was in the Vietnam War. He was located in Long Binh, Vietnam.
Ellie Latta, my late husband, Bill Latta, who served in the U.S. Navy, Vietnam era, 1965 to 1969.
Joan Crystal, speaking on behalf of my late husband, Bernard Crystal, who was in the 1st Air Cavalry in Vietnam. And I also like to take the opportunity to thank all the veterans here for their service.
Donna D'Amato, my husband Ernest, was in the Navy 1951 to 55, serving on a carrier, Ticonderoga, during Korean War. But I would also like to thank the mayor for his kind comments about the Maplewood Committee for Servicemen and Servicewomen, of which I am the treasurer. Although we serve only Maplewoodians who are on active duty, there is an organization in New Jersey called New Jersey Cares. And if you know someone from New Jersey who is overseas, not locally situated, but in battle areas, they will send packages. And if you know of anyone, you can let Liz know and she'll get that information to me and I'll pass it on. Thank you.
There you go, Jack. As you see, as you get older, it's difficult to get up and down. My name is Jack English. I had the pleasure of serving in the Navy for 24 years in ships all over the world, including a 2-year tour of duty in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. Sometimes people ask me, do you ever get sick? And I said, every ship I was on, I got sick at various times. One of my classmates, David Sprague, who has been the head of the Maplewood Servicemen's Committee for many, many years, resident of Maplewood, is sick and can't be with us today, but please remember him and your parents. But the time in the Navy was an absolutely fantastic time. I'm grateful to honor my father who served in World War II, and all of these things. And we're grateful for all of the things you do to make this such a great town. I say these things.
I've never done this before, but I'm going to be grateful for my father. He served in World War I, and he served in one of those open cockpit planes. There were only two of them, 2 cockpits, and it was open, and flew all over Europe with that little old plane. He got a big thing in his leg, but he still walked. He had a piece taken out of his leg, and he could still walk. So I'm grateful for him. I'm glad to remember him. Thank you.
Good morning. On behalf of my mom, Grace McGrath, Ellen McGrath, we'd like to remember my dad, John McGrath. He was a tail gunner
during World War II in the Army Air Corps, and he served in Okinawa from 1944 to 1946. He passed away on Mother's Day this year. And also my brother, my mom's son, retired Colonel Kevin McGrath. He was a career Army soldier. He started in West Point, and after graduation, he's been an airborne ranger, and he retired just a couple of years ago. And his son Daniel is Captain Daniel McGrath, who's in the Army Corps of Engineers, and he's stationed at Fort Drum in New York right now. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Benjamin John Kaufman. I served in Vietnam December 68 to December 69. Started out in the 25th Infantry. And then when the Army decided they wanted to take use of my legal talents, I became the group legal officer for the 164th Combat Aviation Battalion in Can Tho, Vietnam.
Frank Rosolka. I served 4 years in the Marine Corps, 65 to 69, 18 months in Vietnam with the Launch and Recovery Unit, Marine Air Group 12.
My name is Benjamin Gonzalez. I served as a medic in the Vietnam. It was land and flight and doctor's assistant. And I've seen things that no normal human being would appreciate seeing. But we were exposed to Agent Orange as we were transporting the wounded soldiers, and by the grace of God, I stand here before you. And I also served as an assistant chaplain. And today, I'm also a chaplain serving the greater community. And I thank God for the time that I spent in the military, and I thank God for the grace that He has given me to stand here before you. Serving in the Vietnam era was a very great experience, but a very sad one as well. And all the wounded soldiers that made it back to the United States, my prayer and heart goes out to them, and to this day I have not stopped praying for them. And I thank you, and I thank America, and God bless America.
My name is John Dilling. I graduated West Point in 1962. Ended up in Vietnam in 64, and I liked it so much I went back in 69. So I had 2 tours. I retired with 24 years service.
My name is Bob Calandra, and I served in the U.S. Navy from Cuban Missile Crisis to early Vietnam. I was a radioman on the destroyer John Paul Jones, and spent a great deal of my time chasing Russian submarines out of the Mediterranean. I am currently a long-standing member of the USS John Paul Jones Association, every 18 months somewhere in the country.
My name is Philip Lebovitz. I live in Pennsylvania, but my son and his family live here in Maplewood. I was a physician in the Air Force, but I was attached to the Army. Spent a year in Vietnam and 6 months in Pleiku. And I thank all the veterans who are here who have given service to their country.
Going to, as I do every year, remember my friend Paul David Savinock, with whom I grew up and who was in Vietnam the same time that my husband Philip was there. He served with the Army Stars and Stripes, and he would have made it back safely, but as he was photographing for the Stars and Stripes, a young soldier went down near where he was photographing, and he threw down his camera and ran out to try to save him. But they both were lost. And I want to thank him and always remember his heroism.
Ed Raymond, U.S. Army, 69 to 71.
Specialized Target Acquisition, Vietnam Conflict.
Just like to remember my dad, who just died this year. He served in 1942 in the U.S. Navy as a signalman in the South Pacific.
Good morning. I stand in honor of my living father, by God's grace, who served on the USS Warrington in the Navy, and his brother, Earl T. for Thomas Hayes, who served during the Korean War. Thank you, Mayor. I'm Lee Koss. I'm standing today in honor of 3 living individuals. The first is my dear father-in-law, Richard Allen Koss Jr., who was an Army technician at the end of World War II. He was one of those young men who was who finished high school in December and was drafted immediately at the age of 17. And so he was, I think he got there just before VE Day, and then he assisted with helping rebuild after World War II. My dear friend, Bess Fabula Feig, was a Marine in World War II, stateside, working in Washington, D.C., until she was released to be, to escort one of the founders of UNICEF to Europe. Her husband, I'm also speaking in memory of her husband, who fought in the Battle of the Bulge, which was a horrible, horrible battle. My brother-in-law, John Hooper Tennant III, attended the University of Virginia on a Navy ROTC scholarship and graduated just at the end of World War II. He had majored in chemistry, but the Navy put him to work writing for the Stars and Stripes. He served as a Naval Reserve for many, many years afterwards. I'd like to thank all the veterans who are here for their service. Truly.
My name is Elena, and I'm here today playing these patriotic tunes in honor of my father, Stephen Ulster, who served in the U.S. Navy during Vietnam.
Good morning. I'm Sean Davis. I stand in honor of my father, Sergeant James Davis, who served in the Marine Corps from 1954 to 1958, and my uncle, Ensign Robert Davis, 1956 to 1959.
I'm Richard Bergman. I served in the U.S. Army from 1953 to 1955.
Is there anyone who we may have missed? And I just want to, normally I bring him, but couldn't get him here today. My father is 93 years old, served in World War II in the Normandy invasion in the Army. So. Before we move on with Carrie coming back up, I just want you to know that this ceremony today takes a lot of work, and the person behind the scenes making it happen, our Township Clerk, Liz Fritzen. Stand up, Liz, stand up. Poor Liz has been working nonstop, first the election and the Township Committee, and now today. So I think you should go to Atlantic City next weekend. All right. I want to thank you all for sharing that, and I think this next hymn is perfect because it just was so beautiful. America the Beautiful. Carrie?
Sorry.
All beautiful for spacious skies, for on the waves of grain, for purple mountains, majesties, above the fated plains. America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood, from sea to shining sea.
Darren Johnson to come back up, and then after that, we'll post the colors. We're asking you to, after the colors are posted, if you would just sit back down because the band has one more tune, Nimrod, and Steve will explain that. So, Reverend?
After hearing all the voices and hearing the last selection, let's give all our veterans a rousing round of applause. Kindly stand to your feet for the benediction of the hour. In light of increased global tensions and conflict, the looming Korean escalation, and terrorist fighting in Africa, we remember all those who have come before us and given the greatest gift to our democratic nation. We are in debt to so many for their sacrifice and willingness to serve valiantly and selflessly. Thank you again for those who died bravely for truth, liberty, and justice. May we be true as these men and women were and are. Heavenly Father, let us not forget the wounded warrior and those still suffering with physical, psychological, and mental wounds that constrain them. Comfort and empower those disconnected from mainstream society dealing with the challenges of convalescence, unemployment, loss of spiritual connection, divorce, drug abuse, and homelessness. Thank you for their service. Because of them, America is safe. Bless these precious men and women and their families. Dear Lord, bless all military descendants. Strengthen, O Lord, the bonds of peace between nations and all peoples. Let us not become disconnected from one another at any time. Now may the strength of God sustain us. May the power of God preserve us. May the hand of God protect us. Amen and amen.
Thank you, Reverend. Now I ask Maplewood VFW Post 10120 Honor Guard to post the colors. please be seated? Before we go out for some refreshments, we'd just like to thank you all for participating today. And let's give another thanks to the Maplewood Community Concert Band. And I want to echo Reverend Johnson's comments. Today we thank all of our veterans. Let us never forget what they've done to protect our liberty. Steve?
Actually, there are two members of our band who didn't stand up earlier, so I'm going to embarrass them and ask them to stand up and be recognized for their service. One was in the Army band, and the other was in a Navy band. Jim Buchanan and Ed Black. I mentioned before, Nimrod is often used in remembrance of those who have served and have passed away. So, Nimrod.
Thank you very much. Let's give another applause to the band. And now we invite you to refreshments in the lobby. Thank you all for coming.